Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Maller-Grodner Attorneys, understanding expertise results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. On the web at lawng.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville, fiber internet, security solutions, and voice in southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson, attorneys at law since 1949, utilizing experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk.
As the Trump administration continues to make cuts to the federal government, federal employees are on high alert that they may be next. I spoke to employees of the Bloomington Social Security Office and others about their fears for the future.
It's gotten to the point where I don't even want to open my emails. I just don't know what's going to be in there.
Sexual assault continues to be an issue on college campuses across the nation, and Indiana University is no exception.
It is hard to know whether our numbers are rising or if we just see that folks are more comfortable coming forward to report, which is what we want.
IU's Greek houses are coming off a 3-week pause of all activities, citing health and safety concerns. And the state's new Enrollment Honors Plus sealed diploma guarantees automatic acceptance into Indiana's public colleges and universities. These stories and more right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. Federal law enforcement and Indiana University have still shared no details about a professor and his wife who were fired by the university the same day the FBI searched their homes in Bloomington and Carmel. My colleague Ethan Sandwise has been following this story and learning more about Chao Feng Wang and his wife Nyan Li Ma. He joins us now from the newsroom.
Wang was a cybersecurity expert at IU, and his wife an employee at IU Libraries. We first learned something was amiss last Friday when agents from ICE and the FBI showed up in force at just after 8 a.m. in a normally quiet subdivision on the south side of Bloomington. That same afternoon, IU sent Wang a letter that he had been fired. Ma had already been let go from IU Libraries. Faculty say his firing violated IU procedure and the rules of tenure. Wang's reputation as a leading scholar made his sudden dismissal even more surprising to colleagues.
A tenured faculty member cannot be fired summarily. They must be given, even for the most serious kinds of misconduct, 10 days notice, an explanation of the charge against them, and a hearing in front of the Faculty Board of Review.
Neither IU nor the FBI have commented on the case, but Tanford knows more than most. Earlier in March, he learned that IU had opened a research misconduct investigation into Wang.
Failure to properly disclose co-authors, a mix-up as to who was the principal investigator on a grant. And while these are technical violations of research protocols, they're not serious and they happen all the time.
Colleagues at Purdue said IU had asked Wang about a grant he'd worked on 7 years ago in China, which he'd failed to mention on an application. But that still doesn't explain why the FBI got involved and Wang vanished from the public. Reporters and Wang's colleagues are trying to learn more.
What prompted me to file this motion to unseal the search warrants was there's just so much speculation. Everybody's wondering what the rationale is.
The secrecy surrounding Wang's case has generated anxiety for scholars against a backdrop of unprecedented government interference in higher education, particularly against international students and faculty, many of them legal residents.
Is this something that has to do with like Chinese espionage, or does it have to do with a revival of the frankly xenophobic attacks on especially Chinese immigrant scholars that we'd seen under the previous Trump administration? Is it some sort of weird immigration crackdown?
WTIU attempted to contact Wang and Ma, but received no response. Their lawyers say neither has been charged with a crime. Ma's attorneys say the couple is safe. Colleagues at IU told me they don't know where they are, though, and apparently they're not responding through their usual channels.
So, Ethan, based on the little we know, it sounds like Wang failing to disclose this Chinese grant might have prompted IU's investigation. Now, if that's the case, why would the FBI be involved?
It's too early to say for sure, but experts in cybersecurity have pointed to a similar case 4 years ago against MIT professor Gang Chen. The FBI charged him with wire fraud for not disclosing a $19 million research project with a university in China when he applied for funding from the Department of Energy. But in Chen's case, the president of MIT went to the bat for him. He said the funds went to the university, not the professor, and federal prosecutors eventually dropped the charges. It turns out the disclosures the federal government asked for weren't even required. Still, we're working with very little information. We're still confirming what Grant Wang had been working on, why he might not have listed himself as a principal investigator, and whether any actual wrongdoing occurred.
Any idea when we can expect to learn more?
If an Indiana judge unseals those FBI search warrants, we could learn a whole lot all at once. Otherwise, there's no telling when law enforcement, the university, or Wang's attorneys will speak out.
Okay, thank you very much, Ethan, for your reporting. Well, since taking office, President Trump has made sudden and sweeping cuts to the federal government, including the Department of Education, Veterans Affairs, the IRS, and more. Federal workers are on high alert about the security of their once stable jobs. Hoosier federal workers are among them. Clayton Baumgarth reports.
I'm standing just outside the Bloomington Social Security office, where inside employees are dealing with rapid changes to their workflow and worrying if they'll even be employed in the near future. According to the Associated Press, President Trump and the Department of Government Efficiency have cut over 125,000 federal jobs from the budget. They say they are cutting wasteful spending. And though Trump has said that his administration wouldn't touch Social Security, the Social Security Administration says it plans to cut 12% of its workforce, or roughly 7,000 employees. Some people working in the Bloomington Social Security office describe the situation as terrifying.
It's gotten to the point where I don't even want to open my emails, because I just don't know what's going to be in there.
Doherty, a single mom, took her job as a claims representative 15 years ago.
I needed something stable and good paying, and so I had done kind of social work stuff before, and this kind of fit the bill in terms of doing that.
And while it's never been an easy job, she and her colleagues have been able to live good lives. Now, with the threat of cuts, the job could be getting more difficult. Doherty says that in the Bloomington office, 12 Social Security workers serve 70,000 people.
To think that that number would be reduced is just, it's unconscionable. People in this area deserve better.
And the 70,000 figure doesn't include people currently applying or will be applying for benefits. There's also been confusion over how Americans can access or apply for benefits. In a press release on March 18th, the administration announced that individuals may no longer verify their identity over the phone for benefits claims or direct deposit changes. They must now do so online or in person, something that can be a challenge for older citizens in rural areas. It was described as a fraud prevention measure. Then, 8 days later, the administration changed its plan to allow those applying for disability insurance, Medicare, or supplemental security income to complete claims over the phone.
We get so many emails each week, and some are contradicting others, that it's hard to actually keep up with what's going on.
Other federal employees argue that even if the cuts stop tomorrow, the ability to attract workers has been harmed.
Jobs were stable. You didn't have to be affected by the ups and downs of the market. So it wasn't going to pay as much as a private sector job, but you didn't have to look for a new job every 5 to 6 years. And that's now gone.
All of these rapid changes and cuts are unprecedented.
I've been a national vice president for 25 years, and I have never seen an administration do what this administration has done.
Scott says he worries about the jobs at Crane Naval Base. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ordered a strategic reduction of roughly 60,000 civilian personnel at the Department of Defense, which could include Crane.
I hope that when cuts come, that
they spare Crane because I know what they do down there. And it's important to what it's important to our country.
Bedford, Indiana, where many employees of the base live, contains 4.4% of Indiana's federal workforce, the second highest per capita in the state.
Depending on what would take place at Crane, reference to any cuts or anything, it will affect us some from the standpoint of the people that work at Crane, but then there's a possibility, depending on what takes place, if it would also affect us reference to the government contractors.
Though Crane itself has been quiet on exactly how many jobs are at risk, Mayor Craig says he's heard from some of his constituents about the potential for buyouts.
I did have some people talk to me, and they were referring to evidently kind of an early buyout on some of the employees that were going to go ahead and retire maybe ahead of time.
But overall, the mayor shows little fear that the cuts to Crane will be significant. In fact, he says that Crane is expected to grow in the coming years and that Bedford is aiming to develop more housing for the base's future employees.
We're trying to support them the best way that we can as far as being able to provide the housing and stuff for the employees that they're going to need in the future.
Craig says the cuts are a needed cinching of the belt on the federal budget. But federal workers in the trenches like Doherty feel differently.
Hobbling the federal workforce is really going after the middle class because it's a strong middle class job.
For her, it's hard to interpret the administration's actions as anything other than an attack on federal workers' livelihoods. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Clayton Baumgarth.
All right, we're joined now by Olivia Wilson for more headlines from around the state. Welcome back.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Indiana students who earn the state's new Enrollment Honors Plus seal are now guaranteed automatic acceptance into the state's public colleges and universities. Indiana Public Broadcasting Kirsten's Adair reports it was among several announcements made Wednesday by Governor Mike Braun and other state officials.
Braun says the enrollment, employment, and enlistment seals will help students hit the ground running after graduation.
These seals encourage excellence and provide students and parents with a clear roadmap to reach their goals.
Students who earn the Enrollment Honors Plus seal will be automatically admitted to colleges and universities like Purdue, Indiana University, Ball State, and Ivy Tech.
So we should all be very, very proud of this initiative in Indiana. It's really a nation-leading activity.
Braun says some of Indiana's top employers have also agreed to partner with the state. Students who earn an Employment Honors Plus seal can get interviews at places like Parkview Health, Cummins, Eli Lilly, and Roche Diagnostics. Ascend Indiana will also provide those students with career support. Students who earn the Enlistment Honors Plus seal will be eligible to join the Indiana National Guard.
We've finally now formalized, hopefully, to where kids can choose according to their own skills, their own interests, the pathway that'll have them hit the ground running when they graduate.
State officials say they expect the list of partners to grow. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I am Kirsten Adair.
Student IDs from Indiana's public colleges and universities could no longer be used as voter IDs under a bill approved by House Republicans Tuesday. Indiana law says identification used at polling places must have the person's name, their photo, and expiration date, and be issued by the United States or the state of Indiana. Most student IDs at Indiana public higher education institutions qualify, but Republican Representative Kendall Culp says Indiana University IDs do not approve that they are an Indiana resident. Indiana House Republicans voted to give anyone the right to sue local governments to stop performances they think are obscene. It's part of a ban on governments hosting or funding obscene performances, which does not seem to have happened anywhere in Indiana. Obscene performances defined in state law as catering solely to sexual interests and without any literary, artistic, political, or scientific value are already illegal.
You're going to chew up time of some lawyers for those local units of government to deal with these marauding groups of people who are easily offended.
The bill now goes back to the Senate, which can send it to the governor or take it to conference for committee for more work. Planned Parenthood says the Trump administration has cut federal family planning funding for the organization, according to a press release today. Planned Parenthood says tens of millions of dollars of Title X funding is being withheld from affiliates nationwide. Indiana has 11 Planned Parenthood centers, including one in Bloomington. Regional CEO Rebecca Gabron says more than 3,000 low-income Hoosiers who rely on the funding for medical care will be affected by the lack of funding. A judge has approved a bond to increase former Martinsville teacher from $20,000 to $160,000. Brittany Fortenberry faces several counts of child molestation, sexual misconduct with a minor, dissemination of matter harmful to minors, and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. The state says Fortenberry has made statements while in jail about running away to Savannah, Georgia, and changing her name. Her husband, Nicholas Fortenberry, has also been arrested. He's facing a felony intimidation charge, as well as failure to report a crime. Columbus is planning events for its designated outdoor refreshment area. Under legislation signed in 2023, it patrons 21 years and older to purchase alcoholic beverages and carry them outside to other events, or participating retailers in a designated area, or DORA. The designated area borders the Flat Rock River and extends from Water Street to 11th Street.
We worked through the process, making sure that all the stakeholders were involved, understanding what it means. You have to have special cups made which designate the door area so that you can't have people bringing in alcohol from the exterior areas.
Bloomington Mayor Carrie Thompson says the city is looking into creating a DORA at Switchyard Park. Taste of Bloomington organizers say food prices will be $5 or less for this year's event. This year's Taste, the first since 2021, is scheduled for August 2nd from 3 to 10 p.m. This year's event will be free and situated on Kirkwood Avenue.
Nothing matches the energy of a Kirkwood event. And so I'm like, if we're going to do Taste of Bloomington, we're going to do it right. It's got to be on Kirkwood.
And Joe, there will be live musical performances from Clayton Anderson and Disco at the event.
Should be fun. I hope the weather is just as good as we see in that video.
Yes, me too.
Thank you so much, Olivia. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. Indiana University's Greek houses can again host events after a 3-week pause last month due to health and safety concerns. And having people foster dogs is one way the local animal shelter is handling a backlog of dogs looking for homes. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Asking tough questions to those in power.
Russia right now has you outmanned, outgunned. Is it time to think about a settlement?
As a newcomer to Congress, what did you make of the high degree of dysfunction within the Republican conference?
I always felt that it was broken.
And covering events as they unfold.
Opposition fighters have reached the suburbs of the capital, Damascus.
A change is happening.
Let the groove take over.
Which is perfect. The age of discovery is now.
When you hear it, you know what it is.
I am quite overwhelmed.
It's a joy to be in this world.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Indiana University Greek life events are back after a 3-week pause in March. The Interfraternity Council and Pan-Hellenic Association didn't share many details except that the pause was due to health and safety concerns. With Aubrey Wright, our Olivia Wilson has more.
The Interfraternity Council and Pan-Hellenic Association initiated the pause last month, and they haven't been specific about the cause. Neither group would explain what changed during the pause and didn't respond to requests for comment. The IU Police Department continues to handle many reports of crimes, including sexual assault and hazing in Greek life. Even during the pause, the IUPD received reports at fraternities.
It is hard to know whether our numbers are rising or if we just see that folks are more comfortable coming forward to report, which is what we want.
Skiba says sexual violence is an issue on college campuses.
IU is definitely not the only campus experiencing these same trends. And so I don't think it would be fair to put that on an organization or a group or even a certain age demographic.
The IFC and the PHA didn't respond to requests for comment, but others say the relationship between some fraternities and sexual assault is clear.
There are some fraternities that, seem to be higher risk than others. And it does seem like some fraternities seem to promote attitudes that are very much associated with sexual perpetration risk.
Peterson says men and women in Greek life are more likely to experience sexual assault. She says it could be because of men's attitudes and the control they have over social events.
That it happens in the fraternities where the men are in control of the environment, often in control of the transportation, in control of who gets to come and who doesn't.
IU reports nearly a quarter of students are involved in Greek life. Greek life leaders last paused events in 2021 because sororities noticed increasing sexual assault and demanded change.
Putting more power in the hands of sorority women is really important.
Alumna Madison Smith was part of the push for more safety for women.
The insinuation there is that if these women hadn't become involved in sororities, they would have avoided this, which is both potentially untrue and also just unfair, because it's the culture of fraternities that's the problem.
Smith's advocacy began after she was raped at a fraternity her sophomore year. She says her sorority didn't stand by her, and once she started speaking out, dozens of women came to her with a similar story.
There's a lot of stigma that comes with being a survivor. And I think these national organizations and certainly universities would much prefer to pretend like it's not happening at all.
Students didn't find a solution when she was at IU. Today, she works for We Ride Together to support survivors of sexual violence.
The absolute best thing you can do is just be there. Tell them you believe them. Tell them you're sorry. Tell them they didn't deserve it. Using validating language is key.
For Peterson, she says fraternities can make a difference by speaking up when they see bad behavior.
I actually really see a role for the Greek system in helping to prevent sexual assault and sexual violence.
Reporting for Indiana Newsdesk with Aubrey Wright, I'm Olivia Wilson.
Neither the Intra-Fraternity Council nor the Pan-Hellenic Association responded to requests for comment. The IU-IFC bylaws state sexual violence educational programming should be encouraged or required by chapters. Each chapter is required to have a risk management policy for sexual violence, along with a statement supporting environments free of sexual misconduct. Bloomington's animal shelter is struggling to help those wanting to bring their dogs to the shelter. As Isabella Vesperini reports, the problem could get worse with declining adoption rates.
Casey Green has been fostering dogs for about a decade. She currently has 5 dogs from the animal shelter: Morty, Serena Jasmine, Daisy, Rainbow Dash, and Apple Blossom. She adopted Eleanor 6 years ago. She has fostered as many as 12 at a time.
It's fun. They do on some level help socialize and take care of each other, which is really good. Eleanor's really experienced with that and giving a lot of socialization that I couldn't give because they learn better from other dogs.
The need for dog space in the shelter has increased this spring, more than the space they have. They are at capacity, caring for between 200 and 250 animals, both in the shelter and in foster homes. Between 40 and 50 dogs are on the wait list to get into the shelter.
There's no sign of that changing. With housing issues, the economy issues, dogs are more expensive than cats and harder to house for people that are needing to move in with family members or friends for financial reasons or into apartments. So there's just a lot more need for them currently.
Other outside factors make the waitlist even longer. The warm weather brings more strays, and people leaving town for spring break have to leave their dogs somewhere. To manage demand, Souder is lowering the barriers to adoption. The shelter has a foster first adoption program, so people can foster an animal for 7 days to see if the animal is a good fit for the home.
Shelter, especially for dogs, Shelter is a needed place. It's needed to have them here short term, but it is not a long-term solution. I mean, most dogs, if they've been here for 2 weeks, you start to see mental and behavioral issues start to arise because this is just not natural for them. And so we try to get them in homes as soon as possible.
The shelter's long waitlist concerns Green and makes her feel hopeless. She tries to spread the word about fostering and adopting as much as possible to help dogs find homes.
It makes me feel like I'm not doing enough, or like maybe I could take more. I feel like every time I go to pick up fosters, there's someone else trying to relinquish, and I'm having to watch staff try to have that conversation about there being a wait list, and people don't understand because they just feel very desperate.
Green encourages those concerned about finances to utilize resources in the community to help them take care of the dog. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Isabella Vesperini.
That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by Maller-Grodner Attorneys, providing legal services to clients and the community. Maller-Grodner Attorneys, understanding expertise results. Bloomington and Indianapolis. On the web at lawmg.com. IU Center for Rural Engagement, extending IU Bloomington resources to improve Hoosier lives in partnership with communities and organizations. rural.indiana.edu. Smithville, fiber internet, security solutions, and voice in Southern Indiana. More information at smithville.com. Bunger and Robertson, attorneys at law since 1949, utilizing experience, knowledge, and resources to help individuals and families recover in personal injury matters. Information at lawbr.com. And by WTIU members. Thank you.